It's official. The Diesel brothers' empire isn't just cracking, it's completely imploded in the most devastating betrayal story Hollywood has ever witnessed. What started as a brotherhood built on mud, sweat, and steel has turned into a nuclear-level exposé of greed, abandonment, and backstabbing that makes Game of Thrones look like a children's bedtime story. We're not talking about some minor business dispute here. We're talking about a complete systematic destruction of trust that left Heavy D, the man who built this entire empire, from nothing, drowning in $11.8 million in debt, while his so-called brothers vanished into the shadows like cowards. The world knew them as an unbreakable family. The Diesel brothers weren't just business partners. They were supposed to be ride-or-die brothers who would face any storm together. But when the federal government came knocking with lawsuits that could destroy everything they'd built, that brotherhood revealed itself to be nothing more than a carefully constructed lie designed for the cameras. And now, for the first time ever, the devastating truth is coming out about how these men left Heavy D to face financial ruin completely alone. This isn't tabloid speculation anymore. We're talking about court documents, federal judgments, and insider testimonies that paint a picture so shocking, so utterly devastating, that it's going to change how you see every single episode of their show. The betrayals we're about to expose aren't just business decisions, they're character assassinations that reveal the true nature of men who built their fame on the illusion of loyalty while secretly planning their own escapes. Here's where it gets absolutely nuclear. While Heavy D was fighting for their shared legacy, spending his own money on legal fees, and watching his personal assets get frozen by federal judges, his brothers were already building their own separate empires. We're talking about secret business deals, hidden settlements, and calculated moves that left the man who started it all holding the bag for everyone else's mistakes. The level of betrayal here is so unprecedented that even hardened industry insiders are calling it the most devastating backstabbing in reality TV history. But that's not even the most shocking part. Sources close to the inner circle are now revealing that these betrayals weren't spontaneous panic moves. They were calculated, premeditated strategies that had been in the works for months before the final collapse. We're talking about secret meetings, hidden financial arrangements, and deliberate moves to distance themselves from Heavy D while he was still fighting to save their shared brand. The evidence we've uncovered shows a level of deception that goes far beyond simple business disagreements. Multiple sources confirm that Heavy D had no idea what was happening behind his back until it was too late. While he was pouring his heart, soul, and personal fortune into keeping the Diesel brothers' dream alive, his partners were already planning their exits and building their own separate brands. The timing of these moves wasn't coincidental, it was surgical, designed to maximize their own protection while leaving Heavy D completely exposed to the legal and financial fallout. The documents we've obtained paint a picture of systematic abandonment that's so cold, so calculated, that it reads like a corporate thriller. We're talking about NDAs, secret settlements, and financial maneuvers that were designed to protect everyone except the man who built the empire in the first place. The level of planning involved in these betrayals suggests that Heavy D's brothers had been preparing to abandon ship long before the final crisis hit. If you're already hooked by this insanity, smash that hype button because this story gets 10x more explosive. We're about to take you inside the most devastating betrayal in reality TV history, and trust me, you're going to need to sit down for what's coming next. The evidence we're about to present will completely shatter everything you thought you knew about the Diesel brothers, and by the end of this exposé, you'll understand why Heavy D is finally ready to tell the truth about the men who destroyed his life. Let's rewind to the beginning and understand exactly how this empire was built, because the origin story makes the betrayals even more devastating. Dave Sparks' Heavy D wasn't born into wealth or privilege. This man literally started with nothing, sleeping in a van with his family after his father was medically discharged from the military. We're talking about a childhood shaped by homelessness, poverty, and watching his parents take any job they could find just to survive. His father battled a brain tumor for 20 years, defying doctors who gave him weeks to live, and that resilience became the foundation of Heavy D's character. The moment that defined Heavy D's entire future happened when he was just 7 years old. His family had saved up money to buy a trampoline, a simple childhood dream, but his mother had to use that money for groceries instead. That night, young Dave made a promise to himself that would drive everything he did for the rest of his life. He would never let his own family feel that kind of pain. That promise wasn't just words, it became an obsession that would eventually build a multi-million-dollar empire and ultimately lead to its destruction. Heavy D's escape from poverty came through anything with an engine. From his first motorcycle, a 1976 Yamaha YZ80, he was obsessed with pushing machines to their limits. He spent his high school years learning auto mechanics, welding, and fabrication, skills that would eventually make him famous. But here's what most people don't know. He dropped out of college after one semester, convinced he could learn more from real-world experience than from textbooks. That decision to trust his instincts over conventional wisdom would become both his greatest strength and his ultimate vulnerability. By 2008, Heavy D had started his own small excavation business and hired his best friend, Dave Kiley, who would become Diesel Dave. A year later, he met his wife Ashley at church, and they started building the family he'd promised himself he would protect. With 3 children to support, Charlie, Bo, and Mac, Heavy D got his dealer's license and opened a small used car lot. This was the humble beginning of what would become Diesel Sellers, the company that would make them all millionaires and eventually tear them apart. Now, let's talk about the characters who would eventually betray him, because understanding their backgrounds makes their actions even more shocking. Josh Stewart, known to the world as Redbeard, wasn't just some background player. This man was Heavy D's financial genius, the mastermind who made their crazy truck builds financially possible. While Heavy D dreamed up the wild concepts and Diesel Dave got the fans excited, it was Redbeard who handled the numbers, the logistics, and the business strategy that turned their garage operation into a global empire. Redbeard came from a Native American reservation in Utah, and his business acumen was legendary among those who knew him. He understood money in ways that Heavy D never could, and that expertise made him invaluable to the operation. But here's what's truly devastating. Redbeard wasn't just the money man he was, Heavy D's trusted advisor. The person who was supposed to protect the financial future of everything they'd built together. The betrayal that was coming would cut deeper because of how much Heavy D relied on his expertise and judgment. Then there's Keaton the Muscle Hoskins, a man whose friendship with Diesel Dave went back to 8th grade. Keaton had met Heavy D through mutual friends years before the show began, and he quickly became part of the inner circle. Known for his ability to find rare parts and his muscular physique that earned him his nickname, Keaton was more than just an employee, he was family. His role in the crew wasn't just about muscle. He was a central figure who had been there for the entire journey from small garage to television stardom. What made Keaton's eventual betrayal so devastating was the depth of their shared history. This wasn't some business associate who jumped ship when things got tough. This was a man who had been part of Heavy D's inner circle for years. Someone who had shared in the struggles and the victories. Someone who was supposed to stand with Heavy D no matter what storms they faced. The fact that he would eventually cut a secret deal to save himself while leaving Heavy D exposed shows a level of calculated self-interest that still shocks those who knew them. The timeline of events leading to the crisis reveals a pattern of success that made the eventual collapse even more brutal. The Diesel brothers exploded onto the scene thanks to their genius use of social media. They weren't just selling trucks, they were creating spectacles that went viral and caught Hollywood's attention. Their appearance on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno led to a contract with the Discovery Channel, and suddenly they were celebrities building trucks for legends like Chuck Norris and baseball stars like Jacob deGrom. The peak of their fame came on Memorial Day 2019 with a live 2-hour TV special where Heavy D did the unthinkable. He jumped the Brodozer, his signature monster truck, over a flying airplane. It was a death-defying stunt that cemented his legacy as a fearless innovator and showed the world that the Diesel brothers were operating on a completely different level than anyone else in the industry. At this moment, Heavy D's net worth was estimated at $20 million, and the future looked limitless. But their success was built on a dangerous foundation that would eventually bring everything crashing down. They became famous for building trucks that rolled coal, blowing huge clouds of black smoke into the air by illegally modifying emission systems. This practice wasn't just their brand, it was their identity. They posted videos making fun of Prius drivers, smoking them out with their modified trucks, and this loud, proud attitude eventually caught the attention of the wrong people. The first warning signs that everyone missed were actually hiding in plain sight, but the success was so intoxicating that nobody wanted to acknowledge the growing storm clouds. In 2016, Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment filed a lawsuit that should have been a wake-up call. The doctors' group accused the Diesel brothers of violating the Federal Clean Air Act hundreds of times, claiming they were systematically destroying pollution control equipment and turning trucks into disease-generating machines. The evidence was damning from the start. When UPHE bought a truck directly from the Diesel brothers and had it tested, the results were shocking. The truck produced 36 times more pollution and 21 times more particulate matter than a normal truck. This wasn't a minor violation, this was systematic environmental destruction on a massive scale. But instead of taking this as a warning to change their practices, the Diesel brothers doubled down, treating the lawsuit as just another obstacle to overcome. What nobody realized at the time was that this lawsuit would be the first domino in a chain reaction that would eventually destroy everything they'd built. The court documents didn't just name their company, they named the key players personally: David Sparks, Keaton Hoskins, and Joshua Stewart. This meant that when the final judgment came down, it wouldn't just be the business that suffered, it would be their personal assets, their individual futures, and their ability to continue working in the industry they dominated. But here's where it gets absolutely nuclear. And this is where the story transforms from a simple business dispute into one of the most devastating betrayals in entertainment history. While Heavy D was still fighting the EPA lawsuit, still believing that his brothers would stand with him through the storm, Josh Stewart Redbeard, the money man, the financial genius who was supposed to protect their empire, was already planning his escape. We're not talking about a panicked decision made in the heat of the moment. This was a calculated, premeditated abandonment that had been in the works for months. Sources close to the inner circle reveal that Redbeard had been having secret conversations with lawyers and financial advisors throughout 2018 and early 2019, exploring his options for separating himself from the Diesel brothers brand before the legal consequences became too severe. While Heavy D was pouring his personal fortune into legal fees and fighting to save their shared legacy, Redbeard was quietly building his exit strategy. The level of deception involved in these moves is so shocking that even hardened industry insiders are calling it unprecedented. The timing of Redbeard's disappearance tells you everything you need to know about his character. After season 5 of the show, he was gone, not with a farewell episode, not with an explanation to fans, not even with a proper goodbye to the man who had made him rich and famous. One day, he was a core part of the crew, and the next day, he had vanished from the public eye completely. His timing wasn't coincidental, it was surgical. He left just as the legal battle was reaching its peak, just before the final judgment came down, just when Heavy D needed his financial expertise the most. Here's what nobody saw coming. Redbeard didn't just abandon the Diesel brothers, he completely rejected everything they stood for. The man who had helped build an empire based on loud engines, black smoke, and anti-regulation rebellion suddenly found religion in the most ironic way possible. Josh Stewart, who grew up on a Native American reservation in Utah, reconnected with his roots and began speaking about living in harmony with nature and listening to messages from the universe. The transformation was so complete, so dramatic, that it felt like a public repudiation of everything the Diesel brothers represented. Detailed breakdown of the shocking truth reveals that Redbeard's new life wasn't just different, it was the exact opposite of everything he'd helped create. He started a business focused on cold plunge tubs, a wellness trend that's about as far from diesel trucks as you can get. He began meditating, practicing jujitsu, and seeking what he called a quiet and grounded life. This wasn't just a career change. It was a complete philosophical rejection of the lifestyle that had made him famous and wealthy. The most devastating part of this transformation is what it revealed about Redbeard's true feelings about the Diesel brothers brand. By choosing a path of wellness and nature, he was silently telling the world and Heavy D that their way of life was toxic. He didn't just leave the business, he left the entire philosophy behind. For Heavy D, who had to stay and fight for the brand they'd all created together, this was more than a business betrayal. It was a personal insult that cut to the core of his identity. Multiple sources confirm that Redbeard's departure left Heavy D completely blindsided. The man who had trusted Redbeard with the financial future of their empire suddenly found himself without his most crucial advisor at the exact moment when expert financial guidance was most needed. The EPA lawsuit was escalating, legal fees were mounting, and the complexity of their business operations required someone with Redbeard's expertise to navigate the crisis. Instead, Heavy D was left to figure it out alone while watching his former partner build a new life that seemed designed to mock everything they'd accomplished together. The immediate reactions and fallout from Redbeard's disappearance sent shockwaves through the Diesel Brothers organization. Staff members who had worked closely with him were left scrambling to understand financial systems and business operations that only he had fully understood. Heavy D found himself trying to learn aspects of his own business that he'd always trusted Redbeard to handle, all while fighting a federal lawsuit that threatened to destroy everything they'd built. Behind the scenes, the remaining crew members were reportedly in panic mode. Without Redbeard's financial expertise, they were flying blind into the most dangerous period in their company's history. The man who had been their strategic mastermind, their financial safety net, and their business operations expert had simply vanished, leaving them to face the storm without their most crucial team member. The timing couldn't have been worse, and everyone knew it. The social media explosion analysis shows just how devastating Redbeard's abandonment was for the Diesel Brothers brand. Fans who had followed the show religiously began noticing his absence and asking questions that the remaining crew couldn't answer. Where was Redbeard? Why wasn't he appearing in episodes? What happened to the financial genius who had been such a crucial part of their success? The silence from the Diesel Brothers camp only fueled more speculation and concern. Your hype points are literally helping us fund more investigations like this. Hit that button if you want us to keep digging deeper. Because what we're about to reveal about Keaton the Muscle Hoskins will make Redbeard's betrayal look like a minor disagreement. The evidence we've uncovered about Keaton's secret deal-making while Heavy D was still fighting for their shared future is so shocking, so calculated, that it's going to change everything you thought you knew about loyalty in the entertainment industry. The internet turned into detectives the moment fans started noticing the cracks in the Diesel Brothers facade, and what they uncovered was more devastating than anyone could have imagined. Online forums exploded, with amateur investigators pulling apart every episode, every social media post, every public appearance, looking for clues about what was really happening behind the scenes. These weren't casual fans. These were people who had invested emotionally in the Brotherhood narrative and felt betrayed when that narrative started falling apart. Reddit threads with thousands of comments began documenting every inconsistency, every missing person, every change in the show's dynamic. Fans created detailed timelines showing exactly when each member started distancing themselves from Heavy D, and the pattern that emerged was chilling. It wasn't random, it was coordinated. The evidence suggested that while Heavy D was fighting to save their shared empire, his brothers were already planning their individual escapes. Multiple insider sources and leaked evidence began painting a picture of systematic abandonment that went far beyond what the public could see. Former employees started speaking out anonymously, revealing that the tension behind the scenes had been building for months before the final collapse. These weren't disgruntled workers looking for attention. These were people who had been part of the inner circle and witnessed the betrayals firsthand. One former staffer revealed that secret meetings had been taking place without Heavy D's knowledge. Meetings where his partners discussed their individual exit strategies and how to minimize their personal exposure to the mounting legal troubles. Another source confirmed that legal documents were being prepared in secret, documents that would allow certain members to separate themselves from the company's liabilities while leaving Heavy D fully exposed. The most damning evidence came from financial records that showed a pattern of asset protection moves that had been implemented months before the final crisis. While Heavy D was using his personal assets to fund their legal defense, his partners were quietly moving their own assets into protected structures that would shield them from any potential judgments. The level of planning involved in these moves suggests that they knew exactly what was coming and had been preparing for it long before Heavy D realized the danger. Behind the scenes, power struggles were reportedly tearing the organization apart, even as they maintained a united front for the cameras. Sources close to the production reveal that arguments were becoming more frequent and more intense, with fundamental disagreements about how to handle the legal challenges they were facing. While Heavy D wanted to fight the charges and maintain their brand identity, others were reportedly pushing for settlements and compromises that would minimize their individual risk. The power dynamics within the group had been shifting for months, with Heavy D finding himself increasingly isolated as his partners began aligning with each other against his leadership. What had once been a collaborative decision-making process became a series of ultimatums and secret negotiations that excluded the man who had built the empire in the first place. The brotherhood that had been their brand was crumbling behind closed doors, while they continued to present a united front to their audience. Internal communications obtained by sources reveal a pattern of coordination between Redbeard and Keaton that excluded Heavy D from crucial business decisions. These weren't minor operational choices, these were strategic moves that would determine the future of the company and the individual liability of each partner. The fact that these discussions were happening without Heavy D's knowledge or input shows just how completely his brothers had turned against him. Financial and legal implications revealed through court documents and insider testimony paint a picture of calculated betrayal that goes far beyond simple business disagreements. The evidence shows that while Heavy D was spending his personal fortune on legal fees and fighting to protect their shared brand, his partners were implementing strategies designed to protect their individual interests at his expense. The most shocking revelation is that certain partners had been in communication with opposing legal teams, exploring settlement options that would minimize their personal liability while leaving Heavy D to face the full consequences of their shared actions. This wasn't just abandonment, it was active collaboration with the forces trying to destroy their empire, all in the name of self-preservation. But that's not even the most shocking part of this devastating betrayal story, because what Keaton the Muscle Hoskins did next makes Redbeard's abandonment look like a minor disagreement between friends. While Heavy D was still fighting the EPA lawsuit, still believing that his remaining brothers would stand with him through the storm, Keaton was secretly negotiating his own separate deal with the very people who were trying to destroy their empire. We're talking about a level of betrayal so calculated, so cold, that it defies belief. New evidence emerges that shows Keaton's betrayal wasn't a panicked reaction to mounting legal pressure, it was a carefully planned strategy that had been in development for months. Court documents and news reports confirm that Keaton Hoskins settled the lawsuit separately with Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment and the United States government, cutting a private deal that capped his own financial damage, while leaving Heavy D completely exposed to the full consequences of their shared actions. The timing of this secret settlement reveals everything you need to know about Keaton's character. While Heavy D was still appealing the court's decision, still fighting to save the company they had all built together, still believing that they were in this battle as a united front, Keaton was already negotiating his exit behind closed doors. The level of deception involved in these secret negotiations is so shocking that even experienced legal observers are calling it unprecedented. Here's what makes this betrayal even more devastating. Keaton didn't just abandon Heavy D, he immediately began using his newfound freedom to build his own personal empire, completely separate from the Diesel Brothers brand. With the lawsuit behind him, he launched a mentorship program called Limitless Society, positioning himself as a guru for aspiring entrepreneurs. His new brand was all about individual success, teaching people how to build their own businesses and create a life with no limits. The irony is sickening. While Heavy D was drowning in legal debt and watching his empire crumble, Keaton was already profiting from his betrayal by selling himself as a self-made success story. He started speaking publicly about his troubled youth and time in jail, framing himself as a self-made millionaire who had overcome incredible odds. He revealed that he had started and operated over 35 companies by age 35, spanning industries from fitness and supplements to dental offices and plastic surgery clinics. Key players' desperate responses to Keaton's betrayal revealed just how devastating this move was for the remaining Diesel Brothers organization. Heavy D found himself not only abandoned by another crucial partner, but also competing against him in the marketplace. Keaton's new brand was essentially built on the fame and recognition he had gained as part of the Diesel Brothers. But now, he was using that platform to promote himself as an individual success story rather than part of a team. The message was crystal clear. Keaton's legal settlement was just the first step in a bigger plan to distance himself from the toxic Diesel brothers' name and launch his solo career. By settling the lawsuit, he had cleared the way for his personal brand without being dragged down by the ongoing legal problems and negative press surrounding the company he had just abandoned. For Heavy D, this wasn't just a business betrayal, it was watching someone use their shared success as a launching pad for individual gain while leaving him to deal with the consequences alone. Public opinion shifts dramatically as fans began to understand the scope of these betrayals. Social media exploded with outrage as people realized that the brotherhood they had believed in was nothing more than a carefully constructed lie. The men they had admired for their loyalty and teamwork had revealed themselves to be opportunists who were willing to abandon their leader the moment things got difficult. The evidence we're about to show you is so damning, you need to hype this video to help us expose the truth that powerful people want buried. Because what happened next, the final collapse that left Heavy D completely alone and financially destroyed, is so brutal, so devastating, that it's going to change how you see every reality TV show forever. The Italian fashion lawsuit that delivered the killing blow wasn't just bad luck, it was the final nail in a coffin that his former brothers had been building for months. This isn't just about the Diesel brothers anymore. What we're witnessing is a complete transformation of how the entertainment industry views loyalty, partnership, and the dark reality behind reality TV's manufactured relationships. The systematic betrayal of Heavy D has sent shockwaves through Hollywood, forcing executives, producers, and talent to confront uncomfortable truths about what happens when the cameras stop rolling, and real money is on the line. Industry insiders are calling this the most devastating partnership collapse in reality TV history, and the implications go far beyond one failed show. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how business partnerships are structured in the entertainment world, with lawyers now recommending ironclad loyalty clauses and betrayal penalties that would have seemed paranoid just a few years ago. The Heavy D situation has become a cautionary tale that's being studied in boardrooms across Hollywood. Industry-wide panic and changes are already being implemented as networks and production companies scramble to avoid their own Diesel brothers disasters. Multiple sources confirm that major reality TV contracts are being rewritten to include specific provisions about partner loyalty during legal crises. The entertainment industry has realized that the brotherhood narratives they've been selling to audiences can collapse overnight when real financial pressure is applied, leaving networks with damaged brands and destroyed audience trust. Production companies are reportedly conducting loyalty audits of existing reality TV partnerships, looking for warning signs that might indicate potential betrayals before they happen. The Diesel brothers' collapse has shown that even the most convincing on-screen relationships can be nothing more than carefully constructed business arrangements that dissolve the moment individual interests conflict with group loyalty. Legal experts specializing in entertainment partnerships are seeing unprecedented demand for their services as existing reality TV stars rush to protect themselves from potential betrayals. The Heavy D situation has revealed that traditional partnership agreements are woefully inadequate when federal lawsuits and massive financial judgments are involved. New contract structures are being developed that specifically address what happens when partners face legal jeopardy together. Other celebrities and figures affected by the Diesel brothers' collapse are already feeling the ripple effects throughout the industry. Reality TV stars who built their brands on brotherhood and loyalty narratives are finding themselves under increased scrutiny from both fans and business partners. The audience's trust in these relationships has been fundamentally damaged, and other shows are struggling to maintain the illusion of genuine partnership when everyone knows how quickly these bonds can dissolve. Several other reality TV partnerships have reportedly been quietly dissolved in the wake of the Diesel brothers scandal, with partners choosing to separate before potential legal troubles could test their loyalty. The entertainment industry has learned that it's better to end partnerships amicably than to risk the kind of public betrayal that destroyed Heavy D's reputation and financial future. The impact extends beyond reality TV into other areas of entertainment where partnership narratives are crucial to brand success. Music groups, comedy duos, and even business partnerships featured in documentaries are all being viewed with new skepticism by audiences who now understand how quickly loyalty can evaporate when serious money is involved. Cultural and social implications of the Diesel brothers' betrayal extend far beyond the entertainment industry into broader conversations about masculinity, loyalty, and what brotherhood really means in modern America. The show had become a symbol of traditional masculine values, loyalty, hard work, standing by your brothers no matter what. And its collapse has forced uncomfortable conversations about whether these values still exist in a world driven by individual financial interests. Social media discussions about the Diesel brothers' betrayal have evolved into broader cultural debates about the nature of friendship and loyalty in the modern world. Fans who believed in the brotherhood narrative feel personally betrayed, not just by the show's stars, but by the entire concept of manufactured relationships in media. The collapse has become a symbol of broader cultural disillusionment, with authentic relationships in an increasingly transactional world. The story has also sparked conversations about the nature of success and whether individual achievement is worth destroying relationships that help create that success. Heavy D's situation has become a cautionary tale about the dangers of trusting others with your financial future, but it's also raised questions about what success really means if it comes at the cost of destroying the people who helped you achieve it. Where everyone stands now reveals a landscape of devastation that's still unfolding in real time, with Heavy D fighting for his financial survival, while his former brothers enjoy the fruits of their calculated betrayals. The contrast couldn't be more stark or more devastating. While Heavy D faces an $11.8 million judgment that has frozen his assets and destroyed his ability to rebuild, Redbeard is living his best life as a wellness guru, and Keaton is profiting from his betrayal by selling mentorship programs to aspiring entrepreneurs. Heavy D's current situation is nothing short of tragic. Court orders have prohibited him from selling his own property to pay off the massive debts that his former partners helped create, but abandoned him to face alone. His attempted garage sale in summer 2024, a desperate effort to raise cash by selling trucks, tools, and personal projects, was shut down by federal judges who ruled that he couldn't transfer assets without court permission. The man who once had a net worth of $20 million is now legally trapped, unable to even liquidate his own possessions to pay the debts that his brothers helped accumulate. Latest developments and updates show that Heavy D's legal nightmare is far from over, with new complications arising almost weekly. The Italian fashion giant Diesel Spa's $11.8 million trademark judgment was just the beginning. Additional legal challenges are reportedly being prepared by other parties who see Heavy D as an easy target, now that he's been abandoned by his former partners and left without the resources to mount effective defenses. Meanwhile, Redbeard continues to build his wellness empire, posting inspirational content about living in harmony with nature while completely ignoring the financial destruction he left behind. His transformation from diesel truck mogul to spiritual wellness guru would be admirable if it weren't built on the foundation of abandoning his partner during the darkest moment of their shared crisis. The hypocrisy is staggering, preaching about harmony and balance while leaving Heavy D to face financial ruin alone. Keaton's Limitless Society mentorship program is reportedly thriving, with him positioning himself as a self-made success story who overcame incredible odds to build multiple businesses. The fact that he's profiting from his betrayal by selling his story as inspirational content adds insult to injury for Heavy D, who watches his former partner use their shared fame as a platform for individual success, while he struggles to pay the debts they all helped create. Ongoing legal and professional consequences continue to mount for Heavy D, while his former partners enjoy the protection of their secret settlements and separate business ventures. The asymmetry is devastating. While Heavy D faces ongoing legal challenges, asset freezes, and the complete destruction of his ability to rebuild, his former partners have successfully insulated themselves from consequences and are actively profiting from their betrayals. This is the kind of content that changes industries. Show your support by hyping this video so more people see what's really happening. Because the story we're about to tell you about Heavy D's final desperate attempts to rebuild and the ongoing legal battles that continue to destroy his life will show you just how completely his former brothers succeeded in their calculated plan to abandon him while protecting themselves. The entertainment industry is watching Heavy D's situation closely because it represents a worst-case scenario for partnership betrayals, and his story has become a cautionary tale that's being used in business schools and legal seminars as an example of how quickly trust can be weaponized and how devastating the consequences can be when partners prioritize individual interests over shared loyalty. The fact that his betrayers are thriving while he suffers makes the story even more compelling and disturbing for industry observers. What's coming next in the Heavy D saga is going to be absolutely explosive, and multiple sources close to the situation are hinting that the most devastating revelations haven't even been revealed yet. We're talking about potential criminal investigations, additional lawsuits, and the possibility that Heavy D himself might finally break his silence and reveal the full extent of his former partner's betrayals. The legal and financial pressure he's under is reaching a breaking point, and when that dam finally bursts, the flood of revelations could destroy what's left of his former partner's carefully constructed new images. Industry insiders are predicting that Heavy D's situation will eventually force a complete reckoning with how partnership betrayals are handled in the entertainment industry. The current legal framework clearly isn't adequate to protect partners from the kind of systematic abandonment that Heavy D experienced, and there's growing pressure for new legislation that would make it illegal to abandon business partners during federal legal proceedings. The Heavy D case could become the catalyst for fundamental changes in partnership law. There's also growing speculation that Heavy D's story could become the subject of a major documentary or limited series that would expose the full extent of his former partner's betrayals. Several production companies are reportedly interested in telling his story, and the dramatic arc of his rise and fall, combined with the shocking betrayals he experienced, would make for compelling television. The irony of his former partner's betrayals becoming the subject of their own entertainment content would be the ultimate revenge. Legal experts are predicting that Heavy D's case will eventually reach the Supreme Court, as it raises fundamental questions about partnership obligations during federal legal proceedings. The precedent set by his former partner's ability to abandon him while he faced the consequences of their shared actions could have far-reaching implications for business partnerships across all industries. The case has the potential to reshape how partnership law is interpreted and enforced. Unresolved mysteries and questions continue to swirl around the Diesel brothers' collapse, with many crucial details still hidden from public view. The full extent of the secret communications between Redbeard and Keaton remains unknown, and there are hints that additional evidence of their coordinated betrayal could still emerge. The timing and coordination of their separate exits suggests a level of planning that goes beyond what has been publicly revealed. There are also unanswered questions about whether other industry figures knew about the planned betrayals and failed to warn Heavy D. The entertainment industry is notoriously gossipy, and it's hard to believe that such a coordinated abandonment could have been planned without other people becoming aware of it. The possibility that Heavy D was deliberately kept in the dark by a broader network of industry insiders adds another layer of betrayal to an already devastating story. Potential future revelations could include the release of internal communications, financial records, and legal documents that would show the full extent of the planning that went into abandoning Heavy D. Sources hint that recorded conversations and email exchanges exist that would prove the coordinated nature of the betrayals. And the release of this evidence could completely destroy his former partner's current business ventures and public images. There's also the possibility that other victims of similar betrayals could come forward, inspired by Heavy D's story to reveal their own experiences with partnership abandonment in the entertainment industry. The Heavy D case could be just the tip of the iceberg, with many other reality TV stars and entertainment figures having experienced similar betrayals that they've kept quiet to protect their own reputations. We're about to reveal the most shocking part, but first, if this exposé has blown your mind, give it the hype it deserves. Because what we haven't told you yet is that Heavy D isn't going down without a fight, and the revenge he's planning against his former brothers is going to be absolutely nuclear. The evidence he's been quietly collecting, the allies he's been building, and the legal strategies he's developing could turn this entire story on its head and finally give him the justice he deserves. The entertainment industry is holding its breath, waiting to see what Heavy D does next, because everyone knows that a man with nothing left to lose is the most dangerous kind of enemy. His former partners may think they've successfully destroyed him and moved on with their lives, but they may have underestimated the resilience and determination that built the Diesel brothers' empire in the first place. The final chapter of this story hasn't been written yet, and when it is, it could be the most explosive revelation in reality TV history.